All right, today on Free Field Training, we are taking a look at Article 1, Section 9 and 10, ex post facto laws. This is one of those rights that people have that they don't even know they have because it's not in the Bill of Rights, and we don't talk about it a whole lot in high school civics classes. But it's very, very important. I would argue this is the most important right people have against government intervention in their lives. This is what separates us from dictators and fascist and communist regimes in the past. So what are ex post facto laws? Well, Article 1, Section 9 and 10 of the U.S. Constitution makes ex post facto laws illegal both on the federal and state level, and by extension, municipalities, townships, counties, things like that, everywhere in the United States. And what ex post facto means is after the fact. So after a crime is committed or after someone is sentenced or punished, making a law that punishes them for committing that act, when that act wouldn't be illegal. So the U.S. Constitution doesn't say a whole lot about this. It just says there are to be no bills of attainder, we'll talk about those later, or ex post facto laws. And then we have to look at what the U.S. Supreme Court says about ex post facto laws in their cases in order to understand what the limitations are of what Congress can do and what state legislatures can do as far as passing laws about things that happened already and about people that were punished already. So one of the earliest Supreme Court cases and the earliest one on ex post facto law is Calder v. Bull. I won't get into the details of it. We'll put links down in the description for all of this. Also down in the description is the link for my Instagram live stream. We're going to be taking comments and questions about all of this from my Instagram followers after the video is over. So during Calder v. Bull, the Supreme Court set down 4 things that ex post facto laws are and that legislatures can't do. And I've compressed them down a little here, made 2 of them into one to make it more digestible for people, more understandable for the law enforcement professionals that this is aimed at. So number 1 is you can't make a law that punishes people for crimes done prior to the passage of the law. So legislatures can't write a law after you've done something and say this thing that you've done is illegal and we are now going to punish you for it even though it wasn't illegal at the time that you did it. Pretty simple to understand. So if today in your town it's perfectly legal to park your car on the street, tomorrow they can't come out and say, hey, parking your car on the street yesterday was illegal, so we are now going to punish you for it. Ex post facto laws. That's number 1. Numbers 2 and 3 I've combined here. No new punishments or enhanced punishments after a crime is committed or you're convicted and are sentenced under that law. So if you commit murder and it would not be a death penalty offense when you've committed that crime and when you were tried and convicted for that crime, but then 10 years down the road the legislature says, well, all murderers should be put to death, they can't come in and say, well, now we're enhancing your sentence from life in prison to the death penalty, or from 20 years in prison to the death penalty, or from 15 years in prison to the death penalty. They also can't take you from 15 to 20 to 25 years. The legislature doesn't have the power to do that because of Article 1, Sections 9 and 10, depending on whether it's at the federal or the state or local level. Number 4 is no altering the rules of evidence to get a conviction. Now, the thing you got to think about here, though, is to get a conviction. So the rules of evidence can be altered, and they can be altered in your favor to require more, but they can't be altered in order to enhance the probability of getting a conviction. So, for instance, if there was fingerprint evidence that proved that you didn't do something, the legislature couldn't come in and change the rules of evidence to exclude that fingerprint evidence. Makes sense. This is set up as a check on the power of the state and federal government to make laws to adversely affect people who weren't trying to do anything wrong or who committed an offense and then are going to get punished after the fact because of whatever the flavor of the day was. Apparently, even the 1700s, people understood that that was a very real possibility. Now, some things to think about with this is that this is for criminal law only. So in civil cases, ex post facto law doesn't apply. There's a lot of reasons for this, but to understand it simply, if someone has a tort committed offense against them, in other words, they've gotten some loss because of the actions of another person, civil courts can still award them penalties from the other person because you can't clearly define what could be a civil actionable offense in civil cases. So because there was no previous case law saying that this could be a civil matter that you could sue for, doesn't mean you get to do it and get a free pass because no one else has done it before. That's not how it works. If someone had a substantial financial loss because of your actions, you could still be sued. So criminal law only, so things that have to be a statute behind them saying, hey, if you do this, you're going to get punished for it. And then it's the legislature only. So this is only a bar on the power of the legislature. That's specifically written in, though courts commonly also comply with ex post facto. Probably more than anything else, just to keep there from being a new law that say courts have to comply with it. It's always nice to keep doors open, although I'm sure judges would say, no, there's some real legal reason for it. No, it's because they don't want any more rules attached to them. And judges, for the great most part, are smart enough to know that they don't want more rules on what they can do in their courtroom. So courts will say, well, you shouldn't have done this, so in the future, we're going to apply this new rule, but they won't apply it and then apply penalties, punishments, for something if it wasn't clear-cut legal precedent at the time that they made the ruling. If they're making a new ruling, a new rule, they won't apply it to the case involved and punish anyone for it, but they'll say, hey, from this point forward, this is the way it's going to be. And that's ex post facto laws. Now, why is this important for law enforcement to know? Well, there's a few good reasons, but let me give you the most numerous example, the one that I've seen most of my life. You park your car in the street, at nighttime, everything's free and clear, it's perfectly legal to park your car on the street, and somebody in a local government says, hey, we want to have a parade or street sweeping or whatever else in the morning, and they decide at the last minute, well, go put the signs up. So they send Public Works up after dark to put the signs up on the street and say, no parking from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you wake up in the morning, groggy, 8 a.m., come outside, your car's gone. You call your local police department, you go, what happened? They say, oh, well, the alderman came out and told us we had to ticket and tow all of these cars because they had these signs out there. Well, you can't do that. The person already parked there and you put a sign in front of their car and then you ticket it and tow it. So it's important that law enforcement knows that this isn't just something that's not fair or not cool. This is something that's unconstitutional and grossly illegal when local municipalities try to do it. Sure, there's other examples as well, but that's the one that jumps to mind most immediately. So, ex post facto laws, you can't punish people for things that weren't an offense when they were committing the offense. So, if it wasn't illegal to do it, you can't arrest them for it now that the law has been written. Can't go back and rewrite the rules of the game. Whether that's in courts or in civil cases or on criminal cases or out on the street as a cop. The rules have to be consistent so everybody understands the playing field. And this is designed to protect everyone. And these rules that apply to when you do your job will also apply to you if you get accused of something. So it's important to protect their integrity. It also helps to protect your integrity and make the public more receptive to you when you are trying to do your job. So, ex post facto laws, until next week, guys be safe, take care of each other.
Hey, thanks for watching Free Field Training on YouTube. While you're here, why don't you go check out one of our other videos, or you can head on over to the Patreon and see how you can get your name put on the videos like these fine folks listed over here. There's also some exclusive content on Patreon that just shows you kind of behind the scenes like you're seeing now. We'll see you guys next time.